My question is around Irish citizens that are still in Gaza. And obviously, when I compiled this question, it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago, obviously, because you had to reschedule this question session. So there's obviously Irish citizens still left in Gaza. And obviously, there was really, really good news in relation to Emily Hand, the Irish Israeli girl that was released. So I'd like to get your kind of thoughts on resolving that particular issue around Irish citizens that are still in Gaza.
First of all, ensuring the safe exit from Gaza of all Irish citizens who wish to leave and their accompanying dependents has been a priority of the government. And from the very beginning of the crisis, I worked tirelessly to facilitate the necessary clearance from the relevant authorities for Irish citizens to exit Gaza, together with those family members accompanying them. Throughout October and November, I spoke personally by phone with foreign ministers from across the region. In these calls, I underlined the situation of Irish citizens in Gaza and advocated for them to be included in the list for the exit of foreign and dual nationals and dependents. I also visited the region, during which I met with foreign ministers of Egypt, Israel and Palestine to make the case for our citizens. On the 15th of November, during my visit to the region, the first group of 23 Irish citizens and dependents exited Gaza, and to date my department has assisted 56 Irish citizens and dependents to leave Gaza, 56. A small number of Irish citizens remain in Gaza, and we continue to work consistently with the relevant authorities on these cases. Turning to the hostages held in Gaza, I was happy to learn of the release of Emily Hand over the weekend. I've been personally touched by Emily's story. I met Tom Hand ahead of my visit to the region, along with members of the Haran and Shoham families in Dublin. The government worked consistently for Emily's release, including through extensive contact with regional partners. I am grateful for the efforts of the United States, Qatar and Egypt in this regard in securing the agreement that led to the release of hostages. All of the hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza should be immediately and unconditionally released. Emily's story has been personal for all of us. We heard from Tom about the trauma she has suffered. These individual cases tell of a wider truth. No child should be kidnapped. No child's home should be violated. No child should suffer the horror of living in a war zone. And that is why we must spare no effort to find a long-term peace for the region.
Kenny.
All officials, especially in the Irish Embassy in Cairo, have done a huge amount of work around this. And there was a glimmer of hope and humanity over the weekend in relation to Emily Hand's release. I mean, I think what will kind of... I mean, children have paid a terrible, terrible price in the last 8 weeks, regardless of what their nationality is. And, you know, your heart sinks in relation to seeing any child being either kidnapped or murdered. It's just a terrible, terrible thing that's happening. And there is still Irish citizens still in Gaza, particularly Zach Hania. Zach Hania is an Irish citizen, and my understanding is that he's not allowed to leave because the Israeli state will not allow him to leave. So there's obviously a temporary ceasefire, but that's only temporary because all we know that the Israeli state want to continue their murderous campaign in relation to not only Irish citizens in Gaza, but the whole people of Gaza.
Thank you, Deputy.
First of all, I thank the Deputy again for raising the issue. The situation, clearance to exit from Gaza is decided by the relevant local authorities. Essentially, we're talking about the Israeli authorities and the Egyptian authorities who facilitate and process it. And these authorities have made it clear to all countries with citizens in Gaza that the focus for facilitated departures from Gaza is for foreign and dual nationals and immediate dependents accompanying them. In line with its Consular Assistant Charter, the remit of my department is to provide consular assistance to Irish citizens abroad, and this has been our focus over the last 7 weeks. Population of Gaza is 2.3 million people. The humanitarian situation is dire, and many are seeking to leave, including people holding a visa for Ireland or others with ties to Ireland. It's not part of my department's consular remit to provide consular assistance to those holding visas to come to Ireland, but for Irish visa holders who do receive clearance to exit Gaza from the local authorities, they of course may make arrangements to travel to Ireland, and we're working with them on that regard. I'm aware of the individual that you referred to. I met his family last Friday, and again, it's for us to deal with the
Thank
authorities and keep at it and keep at it. That's
You'll
what we're
get a
doing.
chance to come back.
Oh, sorry.
Also, Tánaiste, there is those that have escaped Gaza in recent weeks. They have relatives also in Gaza. And I know my understanding from the people that have escaped Gaza, our citizens, that the Irish Embassy, including your department, are trying to actively reunite some of their relatives, and particularly in really dire situations. So that would be very welcome. Just in relation to your counterparts in Israel, Eli Cohen, in relation to their reaction over the weekend in relation to the Taoiseach's tweet. I mean, it was absolutely bizarre how actually the foreign ambassador to Israel distorted what actually the Taoiseach said. And obviously the Irish ambassador to Israel was reprimanded. But in the last 8 weeks, Tánaiste, has your department or the government reprimanded the Israeli ambassador to Ireland for some of the absolutely bizarre things foreign officials have put on social media?
Thank you. Tánaiste, to conclude.
In respect of the cases that you've referred to, and our case officers, first on a pay tribute to the embassy in Tel Aviv in particular, and our ambassador in Israel, and Egypt, and then in Ramallah as well, in terms of the efforts they have made in very challenging circumstances, and the teams that work with them, and the headquarters team here in Dublin, who coordinate all our efforts in terms of getting civilians out. They're in contact at least once daily with the Irish citizens wishing to depart. And then the department has facilitated the issuing of emergency travel documents to assist departure, and we engage with the Department of Justice on visas to support dependents wishing to travel to Ireland. We're aware of 3 citizens in Gaza who do not wish to receive consular assistance, while a 4th was confirmed to have died in Gaza following an airstrike on the 23rd of October. He had not previously been in contact with the Department of Foreign Affairs. And in terms of I've had direct engagement myself with the Israeli authorities. I've given my response publicly already to the response of the Israeli Foreign Minister, Eli Cohen, in respect of the Taoiseach's tweet and statement. We were very surprised by that. But the Irish ambassador in Israel made a very clear, comprehensive account.
We're way over time.
In a very confident manner.